What's going on? Welcome back to the channel. So today I want to talk to you about Lucid. I want to go over the questions being posed to management by retail. So I want to go over the good, the bad, and the ugly, my honest thoughts. And on a side note, I haven't actually looked at them yet. So this is going to be my true and honest opinion and my thoughts and everything. So make sure to hit that thumbs up and subscribe. And with that, let's get right to it. Side note, I'm going to do a PM video after the market does close, going over the data points, what's influencing it, shorts, and various things like that. This video is going to be strictly questions. So getting right to it, so I did orient it based on top voted. So we do have 𝗪𝗓𝗡𝗘𝗖𝗧, whatever their name is. So it's a new individual, so that's good. Normally we always see Paul and I think it's Greg or something like that. But so new question already does have 318 votes, 577,000 shares represented. And why I'm bringing this up, and I always do these types of videos pretty much in the first 24 hours, is there's about a 95% likelihood of these questions being posed to management. So whatever questions are posed within the first 24 hours and that are in kind of the top 5, those ultimately are asked. So at the end of the day, it's rather important. But getting right to it, what is the impact on Lucid supply chain as a result of Chinese curbs on export of rare earth material? To what extent is Lucid exposed to the tariff? So I think this is a very good question. Although based on what Trump just stated, it looks as though there might be some negotiating between the States and China coming. But as far as how Lucid would answer this, I feel like it's a two-part question. AMP2, I feel like they got all their ducks in a row. They know how to handle themselves. It's AMP1. That's kind of the problem area. So how they answer that, I don't know. They might just give some political jargon and just talk quite a lot and just overlook the question itself. But I think generally that's kind of a good question. Question number 2, Eric. What will Lucid do to compete with Tesla? Given the backlash they've received, this may be the time to make some moves. I feel like that's more of a statement rather than a good question. So this is my problem. And probably a lot of these questions after I go through them will lead me to start drinking. But this should not be question number 2. Like, what type of question is, what will Lucid do to compete with Tesla? Like that, I don't know. I feel like that in this stage of the game isn't a question. Like Lucid just has their own problems, let alone starting to talk about competing with Tesla. Like we need to ramp up. So yeah, I think this isn't that good of a question. Patrick, is it fair to say that Lucid lacks urgency? Instantly, I already don't like this question. But with regard to production ramp and deliveries, Gravity timeline seems especially slow and blah, blah, blah. Okay, I don't even want to finish the question because, yeah, you're instantly attacking them. This isn't a good question. And just if you guys have any like trouble kind of conjuring up a question, just use AI. AI can easily reword this in a less aggressive tone. But nonetheless, like, what are you supposed to, how is management supposed to answer that? My bad. Yes, we know we're supposed to ramp up. Like, there's no other, I don't know, I feel like that's just not a good scenario. So another question that I would probably avoid, are there, and so John is question 4, are there any plans for Lucid to sell or lease its technology to other car manufacturers in the future? So this has been a hot topic for a while. It'd be interesting to see Mark's viewpoint on this. Typically, Lucid has brought this up without us posing these questions. This is actually something that Peter's even brought up over the last, while he was still CEO for the last 3 earnings. Mark as well brought it up as without even us asking. So us wasting a question on this, I feel like is rather, I don't know, not a good question ultimately, in my opinion, because again, they're going to talk on it already. If they don't, then that's more of a concern in general. But yeah, this I think is a very valid question, and it does need to be answered. But like I said, I think they should bring it up themselves. But 𝗪𝗓𝗡𝗘𝗖𝗧, I don't know. We have a repeat, so that's always kind of a good thing somewhat. Paul's definitely, maybe he fell asleep and they didn't pose questions. But with the acquisition of the Nikola facility, can the midsize rollout and ramp be accelerated than previously planned second half of 2026? Also, does this acquisition minimize the capital expenditures that previously planned? Very good question. I think that's deserving of a round of applause. And clearly, yeah, I think that's a very good question that hopefully does get asked, because I think a lot of bears really don't like the whole kind of acquisition of the Nikola facility. And in previous videos, I used the word acquisitions. People called me out saying it's not an acquisition, it's just a purchase of the Nikola facility. Acquisition, kind of interchangeable. So yeah, definitely a very good question. That one probably should be number 2 in my opinion. John Ray, we need to change strategy. We need affordability, our affordable entry level car that can attract people that can compete in the market. So I get the type of question that they're trying to go towards, but this definitely isn't it. And the fact that it has 121 votes is rather discouraging. It shows just people not really paying attention. But yeah, I think no matter what, like, Lucid is just going to say midsize is our answer to the affordable vehicle. So they're not gonna, it is what it is. But yeah, I don't think this is a good question. When are you going to licensing your technology to other car manufacturers? This one's Q. I'm not going to butcher their name. My apologies. But I think this goes back to this type of question, just another repeat. And yeah, it is what it is. Sean, what are things Lucid will do in the near future to help retail investors? This one I feel like was asked almost a year ago when Lucid the stock price really started to get hit. People were just saying, hey, what are you doing to the stock price? And I feel like that's a very dumb question, because like what happens operationally versus what happens on the stock price is completely separate. Some new investors think that they're correlated, but the stock price can be easily manipulated. What happens operationally, they generally, most of the time, don't care about the stock price. So I think in general, that isn't like, retail investors aren't really that big of a thought to them. Their biggest concern is ramping up demand, future demand, and things along those lines. So I get their viewpoint, but it's still another question that they'll just say, hey, we're trying our best. Things will get better as time passes. So far we have 2 good questions. This one looks like John is asking about the Nikola facility, so I'm not going to bother asking about that. When do you project to see profitability? Well, to be fully honest, I was normally, when we get these types of Q&As, this question is always like top 3. So at least it's like number, was it 7 or 8 or whatever it is. But profitability, 2027, 2028. As I even mentioned way back when 𝗪𝗪𝗪 was CFO, and she would be giving like estimates on when they have up like cash up until, I always called out their BS every single time. And honestly, I've been nearly 100% accurate on every single time that they need to dilute. So Lucid itself can't even forecast their financials appropriately. So let alone talking about profitability. Even Peter, he was very vague. He just says, like, with the midsize, we need to really ramp up and that'll lead to profitability. But that could be anywhere from late 2026 to, he always used 2030 as a benchmark. So anywhere from there could be profitability. Like this, maybe start talking about profitability like when the midsize rolls out. But at this stage in the game, like I said, their biggest concern, and same with investors, is the Gravity. So Michael talks about tariffs. I'm not going to go over that. Caitlin, what is Lucid's strategic response to the rapid innovation and scale of Chinese EV makers who are entering international markets with compelling technology at lower price points? That's kind of a good question. Luckily enough, because of these tariffs and pre-existing tariffs before everything started to really ramp up, they didn't really overlap all that much. So I think those markets, they're completely separate. For right now, I think that'll be a good question for maybe 2026, 2027. But I think no matter what, kind of reading between the lines, was Lucid to doing to innovate for the foreseeable future? So yeah, I think indirectly that's kind of a good question. That would be a good Peter question. I know Mark from what I've heard from him, speaking through interviews and during the last earnings. He does seem very business oriented. So he has a very good vision. He talked on marketing quite significantly, but he doesn't seem that tech savvy. So I don't think we'll get these long explanations and passion from technology from him. So that's kind of the downside. It was rather interesting to hear Peter stop stuttering and just like talk for 10 minutes straight about technology and stuff like that. So Caitlin's question is good, but I think we can maybe ask hopefully Peter that. One question that I'm surprised that we haven't really heard of is about marketing, like I mentioned, because Mark was very adamant that we are going to have a significant marketing kind of ramp up. And so yeah, we saw that big event in New York, but aside from that, I haven't really seen all that much. So I think a good question would be is, do you see a lot of utility being derived from the current marketing that you've set up? Again, just use the AI to reword it and so forth, but like, are they actually seeing good amount of return from the marketing that they've done? So from New York, did they get some good amount of test drives? Did they get some orders, like a significant bump up in orders? That's the type of thing I feel like I would really ask. I'm always a very big fan of ESS. I know there's a lot of good money to be made there. And so obviously I always like to put forth that question. But like I said, I think even if you put out a banger of a question right now, it still probably won't get asked because it needs to be posed within the first 24 hours. So yeah, I think all in all, that's pretty much summarizing everything that is there. So let me know your general thoughts on these questions. So I think hats off to this question right here about the supply chain. Even though it's not that good, it shouldn't be number one, but at least it's being asked. And then same goes for I think it was just generally the Nikola facility. That one's another good question, actually both being posed by the same individual, 𝗪𝗧𝗡𝗡𝗘𝗖𝗧. Sorry if I'm butchering your name, but nonetheless, let me know your thoughts on these questions. Was there anything that stood out to you? Do you think that management's going to kind of answer these appropriately, or are they going to just give some like political long explanation but not really answer the question? So what's your viewpoint? Don't forget to hit that thumbs up and subscribe. I always greatly appreciate that. And then one final thing, pop over to my Patreon if you're looking for some kick-ass buy signals on stocks, options, crypto. Definitely worthwhile to pop over there and take a look. With all that, appreciate all of you watching.